I'll introduce myself. I'm Tess Osunkoya, founder of Renova, a registered charity. Next to me is Lincoln Osunkoya, which all of you know as my better half. You know us women, we're either shoe lovers or bag lovers. Okay, well, there's a bag story coming up for you, but let me take you first straight into the word while we're talking about homelessness. So I'm going to be reading from Matthew 25, 35 to 40 in the Passion Translation. For when you saw me hungry, you fed me. When you found me thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I had no place to stay, you invited me in. When I was poorly clothed, you covered me. When I was sick, you tenderly cared for me. And when I was in prison, you visited me. Then the godly will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty and give you food and something to drink? When did we see you with no place to stay and invite you in? When did we see you when did we see you poorly clothed and cover you? When did we see you sick and tenderly care for you, or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, don't you know, when you cared for one of the least important of these my little ones, my true brothers and sisters, you demonstrated love for me. So I've always had a heart for social justice, but my heart was moved towards homelessness and was changed when I read Matthew Bannett's book about Dream Center Los Angeles, one of the world's largest homeless rehabilitation centers 10 years ago. He started the project himself by first sleeping on the streets as a homeless person. But, you know, I felt I couldn't do anything about it. The Dream Center is a hospital complex of 15 floors, so I felt powerless to do anything. But the day I really felt God was challenging me personally to do something was the day when Lincoln and I had traveled across the world for our 25th anniversary. And I was about to enter a high-end shop in Australia, and I almost had to step over a homeless person. That caught my attention, and it made me realize that homelessness is real and it's everywhere. Now, that day, I went back to the hotel, fantasizing about how I was going to buy that expensive bag. I'm crazy about bags. Shoes don't do anything for me. I don't know if I've got wonky legs or anything. So I went to bed fantasizing, but just before I went to bed, I opened my Bible and happened to read the verse in 1 Timothy 2:9. And I want women to be modest in appearance. They should wear decent and appropriate clothing and not draw attention to themselves by the way they fix their hair or by wearing gold or pearls or expensive clothes. For women who claim to be devoted to God should make themselves attractive by the things they do. This jumped out at me. I realized that God was telling me that I should focus more on homelessness and not waste my money on frivolous things. After that, I started to notice homeless people everywhere. Obviously, they were always there, all along. Last year, I went to Premier Radio's Women's Conference. I was not even meant to be there. I had bought my friend Gretchen's tickets because she suddenly had to go to Colombia. One of the speakers had a message of hope, and she called herself the Dream Cheerleader. She talked about, it first told us, write your dreams down. And she talked about 5 simple things we needed to do and our lives would be changed. And these were prayer or meditation. She preferred prayer because she was a believer. Exercise, listening to motivational talks, reviewing your goals, and reading. She insisted that we set the alarm early, so we had all this done by 8 a.m. I did, but I felt like a hamster on a fast treadmill, trying to achieve all these things. I even crashed the car in the first week when I was trying to listen to audio and I had woken up so early to get to court. But I noticed that after a month, 2 months, I was no longer taking painkillers every day. I have fibromyalgia and was under pain treatment and was having to have anesthetic in theater to handle the pain. I thought, if this woman could cure me of my daily headaches and pain by just carrying out these 5 things, there must be something in her message. And so here we are. Well, I want to tell you, homelessness is real. In 2018, the BBC reported that 320,000 people were homeless in the UK. During the pandemic, it's reported that 15,000 people have been taken in off the street in the government's all-in strategy. Here in Bracknell, in the winter of 2018 and 2019, 94 people accessed the night shelter, which is run by another Christian charity, Pilgrim's Hearts. Homelessness is everywhere. And as people of faith, we cannot turn a blind eye to it. Jesus Christ himself gave us this mandate to take the homeless in. When I say I was impacted by reading about homelessness, what impacted me was the fact that people who are homeless are vulnerable to continuous violence and assaults on their person. Earlier this year, when I was serving at the night shelter, one of the clients came in. I could barely recognize him because he had been battered and bruised and assaulted, and he had to be moved to another town for his safety. When you're homeless, people attack you, assault you, urinate on you, and treat you like you are nothing. There is a lack of access to healthcare, and people who are homeless have a lower life expectancy. The life expectancy for the general population in the United Kingdom is 81 years. For homeless men, it's only 45 years. And for homeless women, it's even worse. It's 43 years, almost half of the life expectancy for the general population. People who are homeless have a lack of access to employment. How do you get a job when you don't have an address? How do you complete the housing benefits or claim benefits when you don't have access to computers to do the forms that have to be filled online? Lack of stability in accommodation means that even if you were to get a job, you're unlikely to maintain it. The longer you remain on the streets, the more difficult it is for you to return to being housed. Entrenched rough sleepers find it almost impossible to live in a house. Often when they're given accommodation, they will live in a confined space in that accommodation because that's what they're used to, or they will even leave the accommodation altogether. So you end up with people living on the streets for 15 to 20 years. There is also a lack of access to shelter, food, basic amenities, and showering facilities. One of the churches in London that has a homeless lunch service are building showers into their new church complex for the homeless. It's not that homeless people want to be unhygienic. They don't have access to the cleaning facilities like we do. I can say that during the period I served on the night shelter, I didn't notice anyone who was smelly because the night shelter provided them with access to showers. Homeless people do not choose the tramp lifestyle. So you may ask, why are people homeless then? The answer is complex. It can be a loss of rented accommodation because they've lost their jobs or can't manage their finances. It's not as if managing finances is taught in mainstream school. It could be as a result of relationship breakdown with partners or friends or relatives not willing to take people into accommodation. It could be a result of them leaving institutions such as the care system or prison. There are systemic causes such as a lack of affordable housing. We would like to attribute responsibility for the conditions homeless people find themselves to themselves. But it's not as straightforward as that. The genesis can often be traced back to childhood. So it's not easy, and it's not right to look at a homeless person and attribute their condition solely to the decisions they've made in their lives. Childhood instability, such as breakdown or separation of parents, abuse can trigger a series of events which leads people vulnerable to homelessness. And they start to suffer post-traumatic stress disorder and feel vulnerable. The government has provided councils with funding during the pandemic in their all-in policy. Now that the lockdown is over, what happens? A lot of homeless people are going to be decamped back onto the streets. This is an unprecedented opportunity for Christians to step in, to do something, so they do not return to living on the streets. Obviously, we can't just take people off the street into our homes. There are risks with that. But if you feel the need to respond to this mandate every Christian has been giving to feed the hungry, house the homeless, care for the sick, and visit those in prison, then I invite you to partner with organizations doing just that. And this is where Renova can step in, into the gap. The government is looking for there to be 6,000 new supported housing. Renova is part of that solution. So Renova is a Christian faith charity being launched with the first house in Bracknell. We'll be working in collaboration with Bracknell Forest Borough Council's Rough Sleepers team to rehouse and rehabilitate men aged 25 and above rendered homeless due to relationship breakdown, background in offending, substance misuse, and poor mental health, and so on. So you may ask, what's Renova going to do? Firstly, we provide a safe home in a shared house. So they're in from the cold, the ice, the wet, and they're safe. And they've got a good, safe roof over their head. The house will be managed by a housing project manager, so their needs are met and they get the support that they require. We'll provide them with the opportunity for a structured day. Often, one of the big issues for homeless people is, where do you go? What do you do? Well, we've solved the problem of housing, but that doesn't give you a fulfilled life. That's just only the beginning. So we provide them with training opportunities, volunteer opportunities at places such as Kerith and other organizations. We provide them with funding for education and apprenticeships if needed. You may ask, what else do we do? For as many of the homeless people have ended up with substance misuse or mental health issues, so we provide them on-site key work. And we also refer them to the local drug and alcohol rehabilitation services, as well as the community mental health services. And we help them improve their engagement with these services. We provide funding for therapy if it's needed. We also arrange on-site recovery workshops and link them to other recovery workshops at the Kerith and the life skill course at the Kerith, as well as any 12 steps program. Further, we build resilience in them by providing them with befrienders who will help them integrate back into community and be their support network. We all thrive because we have the support of others. We also have trained mentors and life coaches who can assist them with employment skills and working with them to achieve their goals. Renova is unique in that we are willing to support residents for as long as 5 years. So even when they start working, we intend to still provide them with affordable accommodation and continue to support them to save money, to maintain their employment, and to achieve full independence from the state. So what can you do with this mandate you have been given to take the homeless in? Renova is here to help you fulfill that mandate. So what's next? Well, I would ask you to volunteer to be a part of the Renova team. If you feel you have a heart for helping the vulnerable or helping people to have their lives transformed and restored, then email us at info@renova.org.uk. Or you can complete a volunteer form, which you can download from our website, which is renova.org.uk. You can also give a financial contribution to Renova, and this contribution will enable Renova carry out the work of restoring lives and do all the things I've outlined. Ultimately, we hope that each person who comes into a Renova house will encounter the risen Christ, who is our Redeemer, and will have their lives built on him. He is the only one that's willing to give us second, third chances and never gives up on us. Renova means He restores. Let us all create an opportunity for a person who's homeless to have their lives restored. So we just want you to volunteer and help us in our fundraising. Thank you very much for listening to me.